Hello, hello, hello. What's happening, everybody? MCOC Droid does back again for another video on Marvel Contest of Champions. And today I want to talk about Doc Strange right here. So he's been coming a little bit up to the forefront again. Earlier today, they released feature Grandmaster Crystals for Doctor Strange. So that means that there will now be 5-star Doctor Strange in the in the game, I should say, as a playable champion, similar to Electro. Right now, it's only with feature Grandmaster Crystals. Heard a rumor about potentially a 5-star Doctor Strange arena. Hopefully, that would happen. I would definitely take a crack at him, as I know many people would. But again, so right now you are able to get a 5-star Doctor Strange through the feature Grandmaster Crystals. So, of course, overall, he is still not as good as he used to be back before he got hit with the big Nerf hammer. But recently, there have been a couple of synergies that have popped up that, while definitely not, bringing him back up to God tier or probably even demigod tier, certainly give him a big boost. So I want to talk first about his signature ability. So if you don't know, Doc Strange's signature ability right here counters enemy buff effects with counter magic. So essentially, he will nullify active buffs that pop up on the opponent. So as you can see, my 4-star is at max sig, so there's an 80% chance that when the enemy generates a buff on themselves, or you by attacks or whatever it is, happen to cause a buff on an enemy, there's an 80% chance it'll instantly get nullified. Now, of course, the big thing tied in with this before has always been Mystic Dispersion. And even now, after the changes that came with that and with Dexterity, it still applies. A buff expires or it gets nullified on the opponent, you get a burst of power based on how many points in Mystic Dispersion you have, 1 through 5. Again, that's only for Mystic champions, of course, but that's always been like the biggest tie-in, and especially with Doctor Strange, since he does not generate power through hits. Let me pull it up here in his abilities. So it's similar with the new Symbiote Supreme. As you can see, he receives 100% less power from attacking, defending, so that's, getting hit, blocking hits, anything like that. You do not gain any power there, but he has that slow power gain, that slow build. As you can see right here, he gets 33% power, so essentially 1 bar of power every 9 seconds. And so Mystic Dispersion was always the way to add on to that, so that you're able to generate power even faster, trigger his special 2s, special 3s even faster, which made him even more of a beast. And so again, with the changes lately, Doctor Strange has sort of fallen out of the light and not really used as much. Me personally, he used to be one of my favorite champions in this game, and now I basically never use him outside of Arena. However, like I said, there have been a couple of synergies that have come up lately that have really gotten me to start to think about how good is he becoming. The first is with Captain America Infinity War, aka Beardo. He has his synergies are all based on certain classes, and so as you can see right here, with these first few at the top, with the 2 visions and with Iron Man, tech champions get that bonus right there. When you have Wolverine, Storm, Beast, mutant champions get a certain buff right there. But it's the Mystic champions, of course, we're going to talk about here today. And so his Mystic Craft synergy, as you can see right here, deals 30% of their attack as direct damage to their opponent when nullifying one of their buffs. So obviously for somebody like Scarlet Witch, this happens quite a lot. If you have a high crit rate, you have a pretty strong chance of nullifying buffs on your opponent, and so then this would be a decent way of causing some extra damage in addition to getting rid of the buff and potentially getting more power if you have Mystic Dispersion. But Doctor Strange is also in there, so then when his counterspell triggers and you nullify the buff, and again, maybe gain extra power if you have Mystic Dispersion, you're dealing 30% of your attack. Now, I've done some testing, and even though it doesn't say it here, it is based off of your base attack. So, other synergies, masteries, boosts, none of that will affect it. It is based off of your base attack. So that's 30%. So it's, for a 4-star, obviously, it's not that huge. I can pull up Doc Strange's stats right here. As you can see, so his base rating, his base attack rating is 1092. So, you know, that's doing a little more than 320 damage, about 330 damage each time. So not huge, you know, it's a nice little bonus, but nothing all that to write home about. However, if you saw my Symbiote Supreme Feature Grandmaster Crystal opening, you saw that I got him as a 3-star. So I ranked him up. I was actually in the middle of doing that video when the thought occurred to me that instead I wanted to do a video about this synergy. So here he is as a 3-star. Which, again, by the way, that animation is freaking awesome. I love that when you pull him up and he just rises from the ground. But that's a whole other thing. One of his synergies, which thankfully still occurs on the 3-star version of Symbiote Supreme, is this first one right here, Mystic Master. So Symbiote Supreme gets to fight, begins the fight with 1 bar of power, but Doctor Strange deals 50% of base attack, and at least they clarify it this time. 50% of base attack is direct damage when nullifying a buff off of the opponent. Literally the exact same synergy that Doc Strange has with Captain America Infinity War. It's the exact same thing. You nullify a buff, you deal extra damage. And so literally when the Champion Spotlight first popped up on the forums, I had immediately asked Kabam, I'm like, wait a minute, are these going to stack? Are these going to be treated separately? Or is the 50% going to outweigh the 30%, and that's what's going to win out? And lo and behold, I am here to tell you that they do in fact stack. Now, they said on the forums that they were treated separately, so I thought maybe that would mean that it would deal 50% damage as one tick and 30% damage as another tick, and that from the testing I've done so far, that does not seem to be the case. It is just one tick of damage. However, it is 80%. So real fast, once again, let me pop over to Doc Strange right here. So his base attack rating, once again, as you can see, is 1092. So 80% of that would be in the 800 range. In fact, literally, it would be 872 damage. So that is the number that we are looking for. I'm going to hop in this event quest, and I'm going to do 2 fights just to show you the mechanics of it. The first one is against Symbiote Spidey, and I'm going to make sure that he triggers his L1, or he triggers any special, so he can trigger a Spider Sense. So real fast, you can see the team I have here. I did decide to bring Thor, Jane Foster, and Scarlet Witch to see if perhaps the synergy with Captain America Infinity War stacks. Unfortunately, it does not. I don't have multiple versions of Symbiote Supreme to test if that stacks, but I'm assuming it doesn't. So what I mean by that is I was wondering, you know, the synergy that Doctor Strange has with Cap is for that 30%. So I wondered if, you know, Thor, Jane Foster would be another 30%. Scarlet Witch would be another 30%, and unfortunately, it is not. So between the synergy that he has with Cap and the synergy that he has with Symbiote Supreme, it is 80%. So again, let me show you these 2 fights right here to show you the difference. Now, I'm showing Symbiote Spidey. Like I said, I want him. I'm going to get him to a special 1. Just let him do his thing. Trying to get the power bar up. Okay, here we go. I'm just trying to mess around a little. Let him throw that special. Throw that. There we go. Okay. So he is going to trigger his Spider Sense, and of course, you know, that gives him his chance to evade attacks. There you go. He just did it right there. However, this is a passive buff. His Spider Sense is passive. So if you saw right there, when it expired, you didn't see any damage. Nothing ticked away, as it shouldn't. I did not nullify the buff. It simply expired on its own. Now, I should have still gotten power from Mystic Dispersion, because it was a buff that expired. And I'll just go ahead and wrap up this. Oh, there we go. Thought I had to throw my special 3, but I did not. But yeah, so I could not see if I got power. I should have, because I do have 1 point in Mystic Dispersion ever since the change. I left 1 in there, and I'm probably going to retweak my masteries in a little bit. But the point is, you did not see any damage tick. Because again, it was not a buff that got nullified. It expired on its own. and it couldn't have been nullified because it's a passive. So nothing was going to happen there. Let me go into this fight now with Wolverine, and of course the biggest thing with him is going to be his regeneration. And so hopefully, based on how this fight goes, I can show you the difference between the regen expiring on its own versus getting counterspelled. So, all right, so literally one just popped up. I'm going to stop fighting, and if you see right there, it did trigger. So not only did the regeneration get nullified, then I got a tiny bit of power. See if it'll happen again. There it goes. You saw 874 damage was ticked away. Pretty darn cool, I must say. Let me see now if I can get some regen going on him and let it expire on its own. Unfortunately, 80% is pretty darn good for the chance to get counterspelled. So as you can see, it just keeps ticking away. I'm trying to hopefully see a regen just expire on its own, so that I can show you that it will not, in fact, deal the damage. Because again, as the synergy states, it has to be a buff that is nullified. If it expires on its own, nothing's going to happen in terms of the direct damage being dealt. Okay, here we go. This one should be... There you go. So the regen expired on its own. It did not get nullified, and so Wolverine did not take that damage. Let me just go ahead and finish him off with a special 3. So why am I sharing this? Like, why am I talking about... Why am I making a whole video about this, I should say? Because again, it's only 874 damage. It's not that much. Well, there are many applications where this could be quite good. There are some of those fights where you have your opponent that starts with 20 stacks of armor. Well, based on how many of those Doctor Strange could counterspell, that would be a lot of damage right off the bat. Let me just go ahead and quit out here. And again, this is only the 4-star version that I have. I admittedly have gone for one Doctor Strange feature Grandmaster Crystal, and I did not pull him as a 5-star. However, just as any other champion, the 5-star will have higher stats once you get him to rank 3, rank 4, and of course rank 5. Now, again, the key here is that you need to have him awakened. You need to have the counterspell active, and preferably you need to have his signature level as high as you can possibly make it. Because that gives you, obviously, a much greater chance of the buffs getting counterspelled, which then deals direct damage. And so, like I said, it is based on your base attack, so the other things like synergies, masteries, boosts won't affect it. However, you know, if you have a rank 4 or a rank 5 5-star Doctor Strange, his base attack is going to be in the high, you know, 1800 to potentially even over 2000. And that will add up very quickly if you are able to stack both Captain America Infinity War and Symbiote Supreme to deal 80% of that base attack as direct damage every single buff that gets nullified. That damage will add up very quickly. He's already a solid counter against Medusa, particularly in Alliance War, if you are continuously stripping away her Fury buffs. So just imagine, even as a final boss, you know, if you're dealing that extra, you know, 1,000, 1,500 damage every time you do that, that will make the fights go a lot quicker. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this video. So I am excited. I will probably go for a stack of Doctor Strange featured Grandmaster Crystals, excuse me, before they go away in the next day and a half or so. But even with this 4-star, this double synergy, so to speak, I think is a nice improvement to the character. It doesn't fix a lot of things that got nerfed, but it is certainly a nice bump, especially if you get lucky and get that 5-star Doctor Strange. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the like button down below. Let me know if you've gotten 5-star Doctor Strange, if you're able to get him awakened, maybe with the Mystic Gem or some super awesome luck. And let me know what you think of this. Do you think that this redeems his character a little bit, or do you think he is still, I don't know, hanging back in the dust? Something like that is probably a better metaphor. I just can't think of it right now. If you're not already a subscriber, feel free to hit that subscribe button and be sure to ring the bell so that you get notified whenever I go live or new content like this gets added to the channel. Aside from that, thanks everybody for listening to me gab on about Doctor Strange ability. Take care, and I will see you all next time.